This was supposed to be a normal theory. I was supposed to look at the new line that references the egg in chapter 5, grab some evidence, and throw together some theory about Gaster or whatever for chapter 6. You were supposed to go, huh, that makes sense, and continue looking through the typical theories everyone's heard of before. But no, one stupid little realization later, and I'm all the way down a rabbit hole only I know of. How did this happen? How did we get here? But before that, a quick spoiler warning for all chapters of Deltarune, including Chapter 5 and the Weird Route. The date was July 2nd, 2026. I had just completed the Chapter 5 egg, thinking that it was cool, albeit somewhat underwhelming. It was the final egg, yet it had come and gone with no fanfare. However, this fanfare I was expecting would eventually come. During the blue and yellow fight in Chapter 5, if you have obtained the egg, it shows up in the evidence menu. Not only that, it states the following. It's evidence. You'll know what it's evidence for when it happens. This was a sentence that broke me. Little character break here, but I'm not kidding about this line. I have like 2 full pages of summary written entirely from memory based on this line alone on physical paper. I was down bad. Going into Chapter 5, the common belief was that the eggs were pieces of Chris's past. The Chapter 3 and 4 egg rooms put a heavy focus on Chris's experience as a child and in therapy, and this interpretation made a lot of sense within the themes of the game. However, because of this singular line, that interpretation is broken. The events that the eggs are related to hasn't happened yet, so they can't be about Chris's past. This led me to the natural next question: what are they about? After poring over my IRL notes on the egg room, I had a small realization. The eggs have quite a few connections to the Weird Route. Now, the Chapter 2 egg, for example, is found beside the room where Spamton gives you the thorn ring. Also, an important element of the egg quest is Chris's childhood and their nostalgia, something we see through the presence of the 7 flying aces in the Chapters 3 and 4 egg room, and the reversion to our Chapter 1 stats in the Chapter 5 egg room. This same childhood is what gives them the ability to manipulate Noelle during the Weird Route. They know her better than anyone, including what makes her snap. Actually, speaking of her snapping, remember the lake scene in Chapter 5's Weird Route? You know how the lake begins to turn white near the end? Well, we actually get a glimpse of a grey land that's across a large body of water in Chapter 3's egg room. Please look at this video for a more in-depth look at this part of the scene, link in the description. Also, do you remember this line from Spamton? Don't you want to help your old pal Spamton? Chris, think, what are my eggs going to do? This plays right before the Pippus attack. Pippus are eggs. And during Chapter 2, the man is happy to see you. You are not able to see him on the Weird Route. His being happy to see you, and his being able to see you at all, is because you are on the normal route. Finally, the eggs are evidence for something that hasn't happened. The 5th egg, the one that tells you the eggs are evidence, is completely inaccessible on the Weird Route due to Noelle's pool party. After all, you can't be evidence for something that hasn't happened if the something has already happened, right? Now, I'm not saying that the eggs are the consequences of us doing the Weird Route, or that they're going to be how we redeem a save file that used to be a Weird Route file or whatever. What I'm saying might be a little crazier than that, to be honest. I believe that the eggs are something of a stain on the story of Deltarune. The existence of the Weird Route itself is enough to taint a regular route, whether or not the Weird Route is performed. This would explain why the Forgotten Man is so hidden from us. The Weird Route is not acknowledged by Gaster or the Prophecy, so why would either acknowledge their consequence? There has to be a reason why Gaster calls the eggs issues. Now, before the next segment, I would like to ask all of you watching to please like the video if you've enjoyed it thus far, and subscribe if you'd like to see more of this type of content. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers before the end of August, and your subscriptions and comments help me out more than you know. After all, you've stuck with me this far, why not fully commit? God, that felt so cringe. This discovery gave me one more question. If the eggs are evidence of the Weird Route, who does that make the Forgotten Man? A man related to the Weird Route, who is associated with old video games through the aesthetic of the Scarlet Forest tree, 3rd egg room, and Undertale game over. A character who Chris has a history of being vague about, as their descriptions of the Forgotten Man are the definition of minimalist. Oh no, this can't be happening, it can't be him, or is it? Is the Forgotten Man Birdly? or more precisely, a figure that represents and resembles the frozen version of Birdly from the Chapter 2 Weird Roads. Not an actual Birdly sent back in time through determination or something. After all, through a piece of Weird Road exclusive Jackenstein flavor text, we know that Birdly enjoyed playing old video games like Zork. Why would the stylistic, and in the case of the Undertale Game Over, literal references to old video games be a motif of the man if he didn't have some love for them? And speaking of Chapter 4, in the Chapter 4 egg room, the NPC who is definitely not so sorry mentions not killing people at art club. Weird Route Birdly is probably going to die. In fact, I'd say he's number 1 on the characters most likely to die tier list, barely pulling ahead of Rudy because he could maybe be the knight. Also, Birdly is the Deltarune character most associated with the idea of being forgotten. In his Chapter 2 monologue, he refers to his former self as a forgettable little bluebird. During the Weird Route, no one comments on his disappearance or hospitalized state, save for the hospital secretary, whose job it is to know these things, and Noel. He has no visitors in his room, nor does he have any evidence of visitors. His warm water bottle is cold and his heater is off. He is purely and utterly forgotten. It's also worth noting that Chris's description of the forgotten man is incredibly vague. They call him a man, and nothing else. Now, during the Weird Route, if you inspect the Birdly popsicle, you'll find Chris being even more vague about their description. All they say is that it's hard to look into the ice. Even in the light world of Chapter 4, when you get to check your egg progress at the school, do you know whose desk they're on? That's right, Birdly's. He is literally a bird. Birds lay eggs! The eggs make sense! Collecting the eggs simply spreads their influence across the game, letting the forgotten man manifest in Chris's consciousness briefly to enjoy worldly pleasures like takeout food and driving. The eggs are the consequence of the Weird Route existing in Deltarune. By collecting the eggs, you begin to spread the stain of the forgotten man into the light world, letting this manifestation of frozen Birdly experience the things taken from him through Snowgrave. Collecting his eggs is both acknowledging him, making him no longer forgotten, and giving him a chance to experience closure. You cure the game of its corruption for the sake of being a good person. And that is the story of the forgotten man. Ring, ring, ring. What? New dialogue? About friend? Protein? What? 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 I guess I gotta talk about Friend now. Did you ever notice Friend's tendency to only appear in pure darkness? In Chapter 2, it's off the map in the basement, sitting in the void. In Chapter 3, we see it during Ralsei's explanation of the Dark Fountains, which was essentially the most basic Dark Fountain ever, in one of the Black Rooms during the Sword Route, and during the Ebram fight, which is implied to happen in the dark. In Chapter 4, they show up in the void again, and this time they're only visible through the audio puzzle thing. In Chapter 5, they're in the void again. By curing the corruption that is the Eggman, would you not say that we're making the Dark World as a whole more pure? An increase in purity would then allow Friend to manifest more freely, thus leading to a potential fight in Chapter 6. Also, I think the idea of a cat and bird dynamic that Birdly Forgotten Man would create with Friend is really funny. Is this theory true? I doubt it, but man, is it fun. I do find all the Weird Route connections that the eggs have to be interesting, so I'm hoping we'll get some elaboration on that in chapters 6 or 7 in one of the upcoming chapters. Well, Birdly Man is funny. Don't always bet in it, okay? Now, if you made it this far, you might as well subscribe. You've got nothing to lose, and it helps me out a bunch. See y'all next time.